I guess we're ready to go. Welcome to the April 1st Technical Committee meeting of the Baltimore Regional Transportation Board. If any members are participating remotely, and I know there are a couple, please turn on your camera during roll call for attendance and also for voting items. This meeting is being recorded. If anyone should experience difficulties during the meeting, please send a message in the chat box. At this time, I'll ask Ms. Rebecca Zabel to start the roll call and determine member participation. Rebecca.
Good morning. City of Annapolis. Anne Arundel County.
Here.
Baltimore City.
Here.
Baltimore County.
Here.
Carroll County.
Here.
Harford County.
Here.
Howard County.
Here.
Queen Anne's.
Here.
MDOT.
Here.
MDE. Here. MDP. MDOT MTA. Here. And MDOT SHA.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go on to item number 1 on today's agenda: approval of the March Technical Committee minutes. First item, and can I have a motion? Well, first, have everybody had a chance to review the minutes? Yes, and can I have a motion and a second to approve minutes?
Motion to approve, Baltimore City.
Okay, Stu, Baltimore City, motions to approve. Queen Anne's County will second. Steve from Queen Anne's County, second. And now we will vote on the minutes. So when your name is read, please indicate aye or nay. Rebecca, please read down the list of members.
Annapolis. Anne Arundel County.
Aye.
Baltimore City.
Aye.
Baltimore County.
Aye.
Carroll County.
Aye.
Harford County.
Aye.
Howard County.
Aye.
Queen Anne's County.
Aye.
MDOT.
Aye.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, the minutes are approved. We'll now move on to the action items. Item number 2 is an action item on resolution 25-5. This resolution is to consider approval of the FY 26-27 Unified Planning Work Program. Todd?
1 second, please.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Today, we're asking the technical committee to consider resolution 25-25 for approval. This is for the fiscal year 2026 and 2027 Unified Planning Work Program. We have also renamed this for better understanding the transportation planning budget. So let's see if I can get this to move. There we go. Okay, so this resolution again approves the work program that covers all of the items that are in the metropolitan planning regulations, basically funding both staff here at BMC and then other activities to make sure that we're fully in line with all of the approved federal regulations. The total budget as proposed is a little over $10.8 million, with BMC staff that's supported at about $7.1 million. Again, we have local jurisdictional funding for projects that are within the region's interest at $60,000 per jurisdiction. Those are identified in cooperation with each of the local jurisdictions and then with the executive committee. And then we have consultant activities supported at a little over $3.2 million. We've gone through the development of this planning budget over the past couple of months. There's a lot of been interaction with the technical committee, which we appreciate, on some of the proposed projects. And then we did go out for a 30-day public review between February 8th and March 9th, and we received a number of comments from the public. We're going through all of the responses right now. We've shared those with the technical committee and the DRTB for approval, and we're going to send out the responses to all of those comments in about a week. There were a lot of comments. I think a lot of the public still is trying to get an idea between what the planning budget is and what we do with our normal programming of actual construction dollars. So there are a lot of comments saying that trying to have us focus more on things like sidewalks, bike lanes, and public transit. There is some suggestions to try to move from funding a lot of the consultant work into staff work. Again, we always try to have that balance as we understand, federal budgets may go up and down, and we want to make sure that we have enough money to keep, staff on full time while still be able to do specific projects that are recommended out of the technical committee and the DRT. Again, we generally get comments trying to look for support of transit over building more highways. And then we received a letter from the Baltimore POP program known as BaltPOP. And I'm forgetting, Regina, exactly what POP stands for again.
People-oriented places.
Thank you. Okay. They renamed themselves over the past couple of years. And they actually recommended 14 different planning activities. We got that on the last day of the comment period. So we're going through that right now. I'm going to try to meet with them and see, which of those we might be able to during the actual fiscal year 2026, and some that might make sense for future years and bring them back to the technical. So some of the projects that have been proposed, we call them focus areas. These are the ones that typically come through the consultant process. The original project at the top was listed as support for the MDOT prioritization program. That pilot is still going on, but it doesn't look like the bill's going to pass this year. So we've kind of renamed that project feasibility studies, which was the idea behind the program. But since that's still going through a pilot program, we understand that things may evolve over time. So one of the ideas, though, is that many of the projects that are in local priority letters don't necessarily have kind of details behind them. So this is the idea of kind of trying to some meat on the bone on some of these projects, so that when a prioritization system does come back up again, we would have a good kind of raft of projects that we could bring into that program. And there was a recommendation to look at some software review, looking at things like crash reduction and speed monitoring. There's been some work being done in police departments and at different departments of public works and DOTs at different types of software programs. So the suggestion is to go through a review of these. Things like updating our freight model, doing a household travel survey. We're still in discussions trying to understand how we might be able to move some of those projects forward, but it's good that we would have some budget set aside for it. The Lot Skills and Training Support Program is a continuance in a partnership with the Transportation Association of Maryland, or the TAM program. The PRG, or the Patapsco Regional Greenway, this is the Henrytown Road Bridge project of the northern segment up in Carroll County. Again, we're trying to move forward that entire greenway from its northern terminus in Carroll County all the way down into Baltimore City. A regional transit partner survey. We've been in discussions with MTA regarding this. This is things like the College Town shuttle and a lot of the other private shuttles that are in the region, and how we might be able to better coordinate with all of them. State of the region benchmarking. We used to do this report on a regular basis where we would compare the Baltimore region to 20 other similar regions in the country on a number of different topics. We think that might be useful. Continuation of the Transportation Land Use Connection Grant Program and the Transportation Planning Institute. Another program that was suggested is Transportation Project Management Training. So again, we understand that you are bringing on new staff at the local jurisdictional level and don't have necessarily a lot of training budgets or things like that. So it makes sense for us to kind of work with potentially like people like State Highway Administration on a federal aid training program, so that staff can understand all the steps to get a project, different types of both planning and engineering activities. Then updating local bicycle and pedestrian plans as we are getting into the final stages of the update of the Bikeable Baltimore Region project. So there's been just a few little changes since the draft planning budget was put out for public review. We're going to add all of the public involvement comments and details on the advertising. There has been some updates to the additional planning studies that go into the document. PWP is supposed to be a comprehensive list of all planning activities in the region. And then during that time period when we were out to public comment, MDOT did get us our allocation letter for the amount of federal funds that was coming in. So we've made some adjustments to the budget to update that and done some minor changes to some of the bid items. So with that, that's a lot of talking. I'm going to now turn it back to the chair and ask for the technical committee to consider resolution 25-5, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Todd. Anybody have any questions for Todd about the 26 work program? Okay, I will say, you know, for the public and anybody else listening about lobbying for individual projects, you know, it's always good to reach out, and that you got a lot of comments on those this year. The project feasibility studies is a great idea. I think a lot of MPOs do a lot of those studies, whether it's taking a corridor, but working in conjunction with the local jurisdiction. But if you have questions about individual projects, it's always good to reach out to your local jurisdiction, whether it's the city, any of the counties, and State Highway Administration, Maryland Transit Administration. I just want to throw that out there. We have Bucket. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Mr. Chair, we do have a raised hand from Sam from Hartford County. Sam, could you please unmute yourself?
Yes, good morning. If this isn't the appropriate time to, I guess, make a comment or maybe raise a question, I was looking through the public comments that Regina had circulated last week and had some, I don't know if I want to say some concerns or observations about the demographics and who's responding. It seems to be really weighted in some directions. I thought it was worth pointing out. If this isn't the appropriate time to raise it, I'll wait. I just wanted to maybe bring it up and see if others had thoughts on it. Nothing we can do about it, but wanted to note it. If you want, I can hold it till the end. I didn't know if this is a good time.
No, I can comment on that from a staff side. We do tracking of the demographics of people who provide comments and who go on, you know, and fill out the surveys regarding these different types of programs. And then we identify those groups that we're not receiving comments from. And we're then kind of building a public involvement program, trying to reach out to the groups that we don't necessarily normally hear from. So it is a good comment. It kind of follows along with some of the trends that we've already seen. And again, we're specifically this spring doing a lot of outreach to different counties, you know, trying to get comments outside of Baltimore City. So you'll see us in your local transportation, you know, planning boards and things like that on a more frequent basis, and doing tabling at different events. I know we did a table out in Howard County yesterday. So
Yeah, we appreciate. I appreciate that, and I on the public input. I don't know what the right term here. The portal that was put out to get comments on the budget. I was looking at the last. Again, this is what Regina circulated on Thursday. The very last page talks about your highest formal education level, and I don't see even an option here for high school but no college. I wonder if that was an option, but just nobody selected it, and that's why it didn't show up on the results page. Because 56% graduate or professional degree is, from the best sources I can find, really heavily weighted toward that segment, which I'm not terribly surprised about. It just seems like it's really missing the high school, no college crowd.
Okay, yeah, we think that was a selection that was available to people, but we'll definitely go back and check. And as I had mentioned, you know, these planning budgets and UPWPs and things like that are very technical documents. And it is just one of those things that so far we've been getting a lot of comments from people higher on the education scale. That's why we're trying to use more things like plain language, like calling it a planning budget as opposed to a unified planning work program.
Yeah, that's good. No, and I understand you can't control who responds. You can make a best effort to go after certain groups or everyone, and you're going to get certain groups responding more heavily. And I think it's a fair statement to say that the bicycle pedestrian transit oriented advocates they've got organizations and systems to have their folks make comments, and then like your average folks that are maybe just drivers really don't have that. And again, it's not our fault for not being able to reach them. I just made some observations. I thought it was worth raising, even in like the race section. So I know you guys see it too. You know, you can't get you can't have this mirror the state's population perfectly, and I get that. So I just, the education one threw me off. I was assumed that high school graduate, no college was an option. I was just really surprised that there was 0 people that selected it. But anyway, thank you. Didn't mean to take up too much time.
All good comments. Thank you.
All right. Do you have any, let's see, what's the school on then? So we'll now ask for a member to move for approval of resolution 2525, and then a second. Now ask for, does any member have any questions or comments again on the resolution? We've been there. Okay. Any other members of the public available for comment? Okay.
Chair, currently there is no one requesting to speak in the chat.
All right. So we'll now vote, and when your name is read, indicate aye or nay.
Motion in a second.
Queen Anne's County will make a motion to approve.
Steve.
I'm sorry. Can I have a second?
Baltimore City.
Queen Anne's in Baltimore City. Yes. Okay.
All right, we'll now vote on saying the resolution 2525 BRTB. When your name is read, please indicate aye or nay. Becca, please read down the list of members.
Annapolis,
Aye.
Anne Arundel County,
Aye.
Baltimore City,
Aye.
Baltimore County,
Aye.
Carroll County,
Aye.
Hartford County,
Aye.
Howard County,
Aye.
Nance County,
Aye.
and MDOT.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, the resolution is passed. We'll move on to action item number 3, recommended action on resolution 25-26. This resolution is to set the disadvantaged business enterprise goal for FY 2026. Todd?
Thank you. Today, we're asking the technical committee again to consider resolution 25-26. Per the established rules of the Baltimore Regional Transportation Board, we normally adopt a new disadvantaged business enterprise goal when we adopt a new transportation planning budget. So we normally ask and follow the percentage that is established by the Maryland Department of Transportation, in this case, the Secretary's Office, for setting the goal on the DBE, since they're a similar market to that of the Baltimore Regional Transportation Board, similar type of work. That goal recently was updated by MDOT to 28.4% for fiscal year 2026. We understand that's been submitted to FDA and they have received it. We can say that our last reported billing period that ended September 30th, 2025, we actually had a 41% DBE participation, and we've been over 35% for the past 2 years for all 4 of those last periods. So again, we always strive to do better than the goal, but we're kind of been hopefully very successful, at least in the past 2 years, in terms of incorporating disadvantaged business enterprises within our program. But again, we're asking the board again to adopt this new goal of 28.4% as recommended by the Maryland Department of Transportation, TSO. I believe that is the only slide I have on resolution 25-26. I'll turn it back to the chair.
All right, thank you. We'll now ask for a member to move for approval of 2526 and then a second.
Baltimore County moves to approve.
Okay, Baltimore County moves to approve. Second. Annapolis will second that. And do we have any questions or comments? Does any member have any questions or comments on the resolution before we move? Okay. Now ask for members of the public if there are any questions or comments.
Currently, there's no one requesting to speak in the chat box.
We'll now vote on sending resolution 2526 to the BRTB. When your name is read, please indicate aye or nay. Rebecca, please read down the list of members.
Annapolis,
Aye.
Anne Arundel County,
Aye.
Baltimore City,
Aye.
Baltimore County,
Aye.
Carroll County,
Aye.
County.
Aye.
County,
Aye.
St. Anne's County,
Aye.
and MDOT.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, the resolution is passed. We'll move on to agenda item number 4. This is for resolution 2527. This resolution is to amend the TIP on behalf of the Maryland Transit Administration for the Rural Transit Systems Operating Assistance. Todd or Jamie?
Yes, we'll be turning it over to Jamie Richardson from MTA.
Good morning, everyone. Jamie Richardson from MTA. So we have an amendment to the TIP today. Just a reminder, when we get to the next slide. When we obligate a grant, the funds have to be in the year of obligation. So we're amending the TIP for this project. This is for the rural operating assistance. So this supports funding in Carroll County and Baltimore County with their operating funding, and this amendment adds $783 in 5311 funds, and then there's $783,000 in local and state match, and with operating assistance, you know, that's ongoing type work. Next slide, and that's all I have. Any questions?
Thank you, Jamie. All right. So we'll now ask for a member to move on approval of resolution 2527 and then a second.
Annapolis moves.
Who from Annapolis moves to approve?
Seconds.
Baltimore County will second that. Does any member have any questions? Now, if any members of the public have any questions, is there any comments in chat box stuff?
Apparently, there's no one requesting to speak in the chat.
So we'll now vote on sending resolution 2527 to the BRTB. When your name is read, please indicate aye or nay. Rebecca, please read down the list of members.
Annapolis,
Aye.
Anne Arundel County,
Aye.
Baltimore City,
Aye.
Baltimore County,
Aye.
Carroll County,
Aye.
Bedford County.
Aye.
County,
Aye.
St. Anne's,
Aye.
and MDOT.
Aye.
Thanks.
All right, we're going to move on to item number 5 on the agenda. This is recommended action on resolution 2528. This resolution request is to amend the TIP on behalf of Carroll County for the Upper Beckleysville Road Bridge. Todd, and I think we have Krista on the line.
Yes, as we mentioned, this is a TIP amendment being presented by Carroll County. Krista, we have given you the option to be co-host. Would you like to present from your screen?
I can, or if you have the slides incorporated, that's fine too.
Here, 1 second, please.
Yep, there we go. Good morning. I'm Krista Ziegenfuss. I'm the Bridge Program Manager at Carroll County. Today, I'm just giving a brief presentation on the proposed 2025-2028 TIP amendment. It's for one of the Carroll County bridge replacement projects. It's for Bridge CL 383 on Upper Beckleysville Road over Murphy Run. The purpose of the amendment is to add the project back into the FY25 TIP. The project was originally programmed via an amendment back in the FY22 to 26 TIP. That programming consisted of $580,000 of engineering funding in FY23 and $905,000 in construction for FY24. Both engineering and construction at that time were assumed to have an 80-20 federal local funding split. The engineering program was assumed to be enough at that time to cover all phases of design, but as we know, inflation kind of took over last couple years. The proposed amendment for FY25 that we're discussing today is to reflect the balance of the costs that are remaining in the project, which is $231,000 in engineering with the 80-20 federal local split and $1 million for construction. This project was awarded the 100% IIJA federal funding for construction. So we'd like to reflect that in the amendment as well. It'll add additional funds to engineering beyond what was originally programmed. Like I said, due to inflation, still the 80-20 split, and it slightly increases the construction costs while also reflecting that the construction is 100% federally funded. If you could go to the next slide, please. Just to give a little background on the project, the bridge is located in Hampstead, Maryland. You can flip to the next slide, please. In 2021, the bridge was routinely bridge inspected, and a letter of concern was submitted to the county and the state, indicating that the previously noted section loss on the beams had significantly progressed since the prior inspection. And upon notification, we had the bridge inspection consulting firm run some calculations on the bridge, so we had an accurate view of the load rating capacity. As a result, as you can see on the slide, that we did impose weight limits of 27,000 pounds for single unit vehicles and 40,000 for combination unit vehicles. The bridge had not been posted for weight restriction prior to that. And also at that time, we decided to start inspecting that bridge on an every 3-month basis instead of a 2-year basis to keep a close eye on the section loss. The county filed a TIP amendment back in fall 2021, FY22, to add this bridge into the replacement program. It previously was not programmed at that time. The amendment was approved and engineering began in December 2022. It was expected to have an accelerated schedule in order to begin construction in FY24, which was a little ambitious. Due to the agency review delays and the duration of the general federal process, we're currently awaiting authorization to advertise this project. It's a full year later than we kind of expected, hence the need for the amendment today to add it back into the FY25 TIP. If you could go to the next slide, please. The overall total cost for the project over its duration is anticipated to be $811,000 for engineering and $1 million for construction. The remaining costs needed to be amended into the FY25 TIP are $231,000 for engineering with that 80-20 federal local split and $1 million for construction, which will be the 100% IIJA federal funding. The year of operation will depend on when we obtain that authorization to advertise from the state. We did request it already. The project duration is 120 working days, so we may end up opening to traffic at the end of 2025, or we may be pushed into 2026, depending on when we get that authorization. And next slide, this is the last one. I appreciate the opportunity to present today, and I'm grateful for all the guidance that BMC has given us to be able to shift the funds around as needed for this project. Happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you, Krista.
Thank you.
We'll ask for a member to move approval of resolution 2528 and a second. Does any member have any last for comments in a moment? Go ahead. Ask for a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Stu from city makes a motion to approve.
Hartford County will second.
Hartford County seconds. Any member have any questions or comments? Okay. And now we'll ask if any members of the public have any questions or comments.
There's no one requesting to speak in the chat box.
Todd? All right, we'll now vote on sending resolution 2528 to the BRTB. When your name is read, please indicate aye or nay. Rebecca, please read down the list of members.
Annapolis,
Aye.
Anne Arundel County,
Aye.
Moore City,
Aye.
Baltimore County,
Aye.
Carroll County,
Aye.
Hartford County,
Aye.
County.
Aye.
Queen Anne's,
Aye.
and MDOT.
Aye.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, the resolution is passed. All right, that completes our action items. We're going to move on to item number 6 on the agenda, which is MDOT discussion of the priority letter portal. I think we have Sean Kiernan here today to share information on the recent addition of the portal for submission of local jurisdiction priority letters.
Thanks, Dan. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you fine, and we made you co-host in case you want to share.
Oh, okay. I can probably do it. Let me just start with first of all, thanks for the invitation. We saw Todd at our MPO roundtable meeting on Friday, and it was the day that our priority letter submission portal announcement went out, so it was perfect timing. So he asked us to come and give a little bit of background information and introduce you to the submission portal. So everybody knows every year local priority letters, they provide really important information for us as we are putting together the consolidated transportation program. But in the past, MDOT really hasn't provided a lot of guidance or on the structure or the information that's in those letters. And there's advantages and disadvantages to that as well. Since there are a wide variety of submissions for those priority letters, sometimes it's difficult to really discern what are the top priorities from some of the other projects that are included. Last year, well, I guess in January, the Maryland Commission on Transportation Revenue and Infrastructure Needs, the TRAIN Commission, also made a recommendation in their interim report that MDOT should look at opportunities to standardize local priority letter process. With that guidance, and more importantly, as part of an overall effort for us to be more transparent and responsive in our decision-making, MDOT is proud to introduce another option to submit local priority letters. And for this year, we're offering two ways to submit priority letters. The first is the way that we've always done it, the traditional way, exactly how you have in the past. And then the second way is using this new online portal, which is hosted through Maryland One Shop. And here's what I'm going to do real quick. I'm going to put the link in the chat for everybody. So that will be the one-stop portal site. Letters this year are going to be due to MDOT by no later than May 16th. And as always, the priority letters need to go through your standard approval process, whether that's through the commissioner or the council or the county executive, whatever is appropriate for your locality. And MDOT is going to give the same consideration to projects and priority letters that we receive through the portal, as well as through the traditional way. It's not going to change anything. All right, let me tell you just a little bit about the portal itself. What it does is it gives you the opportunity for narrative descriptions of projects and local transportation goals. And it also has structured fields that can tell you specific projects and give some background on them for a variety of different categories, different priorities. So things like the state of good repair, safety, bike ped projects, as well as feasibility studies. But it also asks for the local jurisdiction to provide some information on their priorities for housing and economic development, which would be very helpful. In this case, if you've already prepared a priority letter this year, there's also a space to upload that. You're not required to upload it if you've already done it and you've sent it in or something like that. You don't have to use the portal, but you're most welcome to if you would like. A couple other key things: if you don't already have a Maryland One Stop account, you are going to need to register before you are able to put anything into the portal. And I will drop a link to our priority letter guidance page, which is on our MDOT website. You can go there and you'll get some more information on how to register, as well as all these links again. Last thing is we're going to be hosting an informational session on how to use this. So I may not share the screen today and show you all, but if you're available, we'd love for you to come by on April 7th from 11 until 12. And you can register at this link that I'm going to put in the chat right now. And through that, we're going to walk through all of the different steps and pieces that are in the portal. So with that, I guess are there any questions, or would you like me to pull up the portal and just give you an idea, or what would be best for you guys?
Could you at least pull up the portal just so people can kind of see the webpage and understand? If not, I can share it.
For every room, I'll send you those links as soon as we're finished.
Okay. Let's see if this is. All right, is this sharing this is our priority letter guide. Here we go. This is the portal itself. Can you all see that okay?
Yes.
Oh, it has logged me out, but that's okay. Here's what we'll do.
Sean, and
Sir.
just clear, you know, the one-stop portal for the priority letters is for our county employees, city employees who are submitting priority letters. So just so the public's not confused, this
That's
is
correct.
showing you the whole process. And I'm sure most of the folks at this table have either been involved or have had a county liaison working directly with our staff at MDOT for the priority submission. And basically they've been working on it, Sean, as you know, for several months.
Yep.
Tweaking it, getting it to where everybody's comfortable using it, and also going through the prioritization process with the locals. So just to be clear, it's really sharing this for the public, getting this out in the open, and it just so not everybody from the public tries to submit.
Yes, that's right. This is for local jurisdictions to be able to submit their transportation priority letter.
So you know,
So we've got a little bit of an introduction up above, but when you click in here, it will take you to a page where we got some key terms, some definitions here. Go to the next page and you've got the information about the person who is submitting it on behalf of the jurisdiction. Then we have some of the narrative spaces, the local government priorities. What are your overall goals related to transportation policies and spending? Then for these following questions, what we're looking for is we're hoping that the local governments can kind of introduce their projects in their priority order. So their highest priority should be the first one that we talk about. And as you can see, an example here is you've got a project proposed. Here's why we want to do it. Here's what we're asking for as a solution. And here's any backup information, any supporting information. It's from this plan or this feasibility study. And what we're looking for are projects for preservation, for state of good repair, new capacity projects, feasibility studies, safety projects, bike and pedestrian or complete streets projects, transit-oriented development projects, and then anything that's one of the smaller projects under 5 million, so things like transportation demand management or signal retiming. And there's also a space here for anything that doesn't fit into any of those other categories. You can also put that in here. And I mentioned about, we're looking for the local priorities for housing and economic development. And if there's any projects that they want to highlight that they anticipate are going to be happening soon. The last piece here, this next page, is where you can upload a letter. So if you do a standard letter process and you want to do this, you can do both. And you can also send in just the letter, as we said, normally. And then this piece is just letting us know that you're a good contact point. I always find this funny. This is sort of a relic. You have to agree to it being legally binded. And I understand that's because of One Stop is a grant program. So typically a lot of those require that. So you may have to click that when you hit it. And then you just hit submit and it'll give you kind of a breakdown of everything that you put in there and you should be good to go. Any questions? And I can't see if there are, so.
What was the housing priority at the end that you mentioned?
Yeah, if there's any housing or economic development priorities that you would like to share, obviously, ideally things that are related to, just so that we can understand if there are any major projects on the way or anything like that, so that we can have them in our mind for being aware of transportation needs or transportation changes in those areas.
So larger developments that may impact transportation networks.
Things like that would be helpful, yeah. And if there's any larger priorities, that would be helpful there too.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right.
Will MDOT or SHA also submit projects through the portal?
I'm not aware of at the moment. Everything we've been working on so far for that portal is for the local priority letters.
Oops, we have a question from Paco.
Yeah, just to be sure, there will be only one account for each local government, right?
Yes, what you have to identify is the person who will be submitting it. That person is going to need to have an account. Yes.
Okay. So no other person in the government can take in another account, just to make sure.
Yes, it is, if other people have accounts and they were to try to put it in, I'm not entirely sure what would happen, but if you have your designated person, we just need to make sure that they have an account and the authority to speak for your agency.
Thank you.
Sean, the webinar one more time, which day is that going to be?
That is on April 7th, which is Monday from 11 until 12 p.m. And in the chat, that long link is the registration for that. Registration's also found, the links are also found on our priority letter, our MDOT priority letter website. All the links are on there too under resources. Okay.
And just a reminder, we do tape this technical committee, so if it went through a little quickly and you want to go back and look at it, we will be posting it probably tomorrow. But thank you very much, Sean. We do appreciate you coming and presenting on that.
Thanks.
All right. Just a quick follow-up. Does anybody have any questions before we move on? Okay. All right, move on to item number 7, presentation of the 2024 building permit activity. Ms. Crystal McDermott will share information about both residential and non-residential permit activity in 2024 region, as well as by jurisdiction.
1 second, Crystal. I need to make you a co-host if you want to present. Okay. Hopefully you can pull up your screen now.
Okay, I'm going to share now.
Okay, we can see it fine.
Okay. Oops. One moment. I'm just going to move the display off my buttons. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for having me. So yeah, as Todd said, I'm here to present the Baltimore Region building activity in 2024. The presentation outlines the contents of the Regional Building Activity Report, which you can find on our website. So this is a broad analysis of building permit activity in the region. Where does the data come from? Oops, I forgot to give you the outline. Sorry about that. So we're going to go over where the data comes from, the new building activity in the new residential category. We'll look at 10 years of building permits across the region. Then we'll look at the jurisdictional shares in 2024. Then we'll look at the residential permit and regional planning district analysis in each jurisdiction. Then we'll look at new non-residential, the jurisdictional shares in 2024, and the permits by use across region in 2024. Okay, so where the data comes from? The data comes from the local jurisdictions. BMC has been tracking building permit data from the local jurisdictions for over 50 years. It's reported by BMC by the jurisdictions on a weekly basis, and we get text or Excel files. At BMC, we go through a common coding system. We apply a common coding system that accommodates the discrepancies between the individual jurisdiction reporting methods. And we incorporated Queen Anne's County into the BPDS in 2021. So now we're looking at a 10-year view of the residential building permits across the Baltimore region. The red line shows the total number of residential permits. The blue line shows the single family, and the red line shows the multifamily residential permits. So between 2014 and 2024, there were 77,079 new units authorized. The 10-year annual average for that is 7,708 units per year. In the single family category, there were 45,591 new units permitted in the 10-year time period. In the multifamily category, there were 31,488 permits permitted in the 10-year time period. And so the annual average for single family was 4,559. The annual average for multifamily was 3,149. The single family ratio across the 10-year period has been 59% single family and 41% multifamily across the region. And so you can visit our dashboard on the website for building permits across time by whatever time period you want and whatever jurisdictions you want or the whole region. That's on our website, so I'll drop the link in the chat at the end of the presentation. So looking at 2024 in the Baltimore region, there were a total of 6,448 new residential units authorized. And in the single family category, there were 3,791 units authorized. In the multifamily category, there were 2,657 units authorized. And the ratio happens to match the 10-year average, where single family, there were 59%, or 59% of permits were single family and 41% were multifamily in 2024. So Baltimore County permitted the most units in the region in 2024 with 1,511 or 23.4% of the regional total. Anne Arundel County ranked second, permitting 1,305 units or 20.2% of the regional total. And Baltimore City ranked third, permitting 1,273 units or 19.7% of the regional total. So next, we're going to take a look at each of the jurisdictions at the top 5 regional planning districts in each jurisdiction, and I put these in alphabetical order. So a note on the charts, the blue sections of the bar represent the single family units permitted, and the orange parts of the bars represent the multifamily units permitted. So starting with Anne Arundel County, Crofton permitted the most residential units with 185. Maryland City ranked second with 183 units permitted. Odenton ranked third with 153 units permitted. Marley Neck fourth with 148 units permitted. Severna Park ranked fifth with 147 units permitted. Now, Crofton and Maryland City each had 14% of Anne Arundel County's total units permitted. Odenton saw 12% of the units permitted. Marley Neck and Severna Park saw 11% each of Anne Arundel County's total residential units permitted. Now, taking a look at Baltimore City, Canton ranked number 1 in terms of residential units permitted with 419. Mount Washington ranked second with 331 residential units permitted. East Baltimore ranked third with 267 units. South Baltimore ranked fourth with 128 units permitted, and Highlandtown ranked fifth with 46 units permitted. Now, Canton ranked number 1. They saw 33% of the new residential units permitted in Baltimore City. Mount Washington saw 26% of the city's new residential units. East Baltimore saw 21% of the city's new residential units, and South Baltimore saw 10% of the city's new residential units, while Highlandtown saw 4%. Next is Baltimore County. Chase and Bowley's Quarters ranked number 1 in terms of residential units permitted with 517. Cockeysville Timonium ranked number 2 with 244 new residential units permitted. Security ranked third with 150 new units permitted. Green Spring Valley and Pikesville fourth with 102 new residential units. Dundalk Turner Station permitted 92 new residential units. Now, ranked number 1, Chase and Bowley's Quarters saw 34% of Baltimore County's new residential units in 2024, while Cockeysville Timonium saw 16%. Security saw 10%. Green Spring Valley Pikesville saw 7% of the new units permitted, and Dundalk Turner Stations saw 6% of the new residential units permitted in Baltimore County. Now over to Carroll County. Eldersburg ranked number 1 with 47 new residential units permitted. Manchester ranked second with 29. Mount Airy ranked third with 23 new residential units permitted, and Westminster ranked fourth with 22 new units permitted. Taneytown ranked fifth with 20 new residential units permitted. Now, ranking number 1, Eldersburg saw 30% of the new units permitted in Carroll County in 2024. Manchester saw 18% of the new units permitted. Mount Airy and Westminster saw 14% each of the new residential units in Carroll County, and Taneytown saw 13% of the new residential units in Carroll County. Now, taking a look at Harford County, Aberdeen Haverty Grace with 649 new residential units ranked number 1. Edgewood Joppa had 294 new residential units permitted. Bel Air Falston saw 58 new residential units permitted. Jarrettsville, Norrisville, and Cardiff Darlington each saw 16 new units permitted. So ranking number 1, Aberdeen and Havre de Grace saw 63% of the new units permitted within Harford County in 2024. Edgewood Joppa saw 28% of the new residential units permitted in 2024. Bel Air Falston saw 6%, and Jarrettsville, Norrisville, Cardiff, Darlington each saw 2% of the new residential units permitted in Harford County. Howard County. Laurel ranked number 1 in terms of new residential units permitted in Howard County with 247. West Friendship ranked 2nd with 228 new residential units permitted. Columbia ranked 3rd with 219 new residential units permitted. Ellicott City ranked 4th with 132 new residential units permitted, and Elk Ridge ranked 5th with 31 new units. So Laurel, which ranked number 1, saw 28% of the new residential units in Howard County in 2024. West Friendship saw 26%, Columbia 25%, Ellicott City saw 15%, and Elk Ridge saw 3% of the new residential units permitted in Howard County. Queen Anne's County has 3 residential planning districts, and Kent Island ranked number 1 with 193 new units permitted. Graysonville, Queenstown ranked 2nd with 55 new units permitted. Centreville ranked 3rd with 27 new units permitted. So Kent Island ranked number 1, saw 70% of the new units permitted in Queen Anne's County. Graysonville, Queenstown saw 20% of the new units permitted, and Centreville saw 10% of the new units permitted in Queen Anne's County. So that's it for the look in the regional planning districts in each county, and I'll let you know before moving on to the non-new residential that we have a hot developments report coming out that takes a look at the developments making each of these RPDs hot. So you can look for that report later this spring. So when discussing the non-residential permitting, it's important to note that as the permitted value for new non-residential buildings tends to be substantial, a single building can have a dramatic impact on the distribution of investment across jurisdictions, building types, and between time periods. And we have an example of that I'll direct you to in a moment. So the permitted value of new non-residential construction in the Baltimore region in 2024 was 1.1 billion. Howard County was the regional leader in this category with an estimated permitted value of 525.6 million. Baltimore County ranked 2nd with 218.4 million permitted in non-residential new construction. And Baltimore City ranked 3rd with 202.8 million permitted in new non-residential construction. Now, the number 1 permit in terms of estimated cost happened to be in Howard County in Clarksville. It was for a new 4-story commercial office building that included site preparation, and the estimated cost of that was $435 million, which is 40% of the 2024 total new non-residential. So that would be why Howard County has such a large slice of the pie in 2024. So next we'll take a look at the permits authorized by use type across the region. Now at BMC, we categorize the permits into 8 different use types. And so on this bar chart, you're seeing the use types and the estimated cost in 2023 and 2024. In 2023 is the light blue, and 2024 is the navy blue bars. So office buildings had the highest permitted values in 2024. There were 14 permits issued for office buildings with a combined construction value of 569.6 million. And then retail commercial, the estimated value was 203.4 million for 76 permits. That category ranked 2nd in 2024 in terms of estimated cost. Industrial structures ranked 3rd in 2024 with 137.7 million in construction value for 33 permits. Now, you can find all the more details on this in our annual report. You can find a complete map and list of the new non-residential projects that are valued at 7.5 million or more in the report. So that's all for my presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me now, or you can take down my information and contact me for a bigger conversation. Thanks.
Thank you, Crystal. Great report. Very detailed. Appreciate those every year. Give us an idea of how we're growing in the region. Does any members have any questions or comments on the presentation?
Just out of curiosity, for Anne Arundel County, does it include City of Annapolis?
Yeah, so we include City of Annapolis within Anne Arundel County.
All right, thank you.
Amy has a question.
I have a real loaded question because like we have a housing crisis. So like, are we building enough housing? I didn't really see that like in the analysis. So is it in the report or like how does that come into just this work?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I can't really say whether we're building enough, but you know, in our report, we track across time and we noticed that the 1-year trend, we're 11% lower than we happen to be in 2023 with new residential housing. But you know, if you look at it across time, it looks a little bit different. So I would definitely encourage you to like take a look at, you know, the building permits across time, just because, yeah, that you can see the effects and the trends. So.
Yeah.
Also a good source, Dan Pontius, our housing coordinator, works with 2 different housing groups, committees here at the BMC. So they have identified a shortage of housing.
Yes, to follow up with Jamie, your question regarding the housing crisis, is it a question of supply or a question of affordability? In our neighborhood back on in the swamp in the Eastern Shore, the houses are there, they are advertising for sale, but for like Talbot County, I mean, average income is so low that most of the buyers are from outside. So for the local people, they are not able to afford to buy this house. So that's, I mean, looking at the price, is way beyond the means of average person, even in the town of East. And what we found out is that it's not the supply per se. We have companies that come in and buy these homes in bulk and in turn rent them out. So creating artificial supply and therefore driving up the prices of these that go way beyond the means of the average person on the Eastern Shore, specifically where I live in East. So that could be another factor. Maybe in the future, I'll look into that. That would be great. And
Yep, obviously housing is a big discussion at the General Assembly level. I see Zach has just come in. We're working on a scenario planning project where we're trying to understand what might happen to different types of indicators if we added, say, 90,000 additional homes on top of those we expect to build, you know, in the next 20, 30 years. So good topic. Maybe we can see if we can get another presentation for you. I see Sam has a question from Harvard.
Yes, thank you, Crystal. Could you clarify on the very last slide that you presented? I see a category for industrial structures and then retail and commercial. Where would let's say, an e-commerce distribution warehouse fall? Would that be under commercial or industrial? So like a really big warehouse that's for Amazon or an e-commerce company. Do you know if it would fit in, if it's definitively in one of these or the other?
Yeah, so that would fall in industrial structures, the warehouse and industrial structures, like a data center or anything like that.
Got it.
Amazon
Thank you.
warehouse. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
On the same topic, I had a quick question. So for public utility government miscellaneous, is that only including ones that have government-owned buildings and I guess as active leaseholders, or anything that supports government operations Or would that be more in office buildings?
So it's government-owned buildings and then additionally like utilities, like if there's antennas, that would also be included in there.
Okay, that's helpful. Yeah, I was just curious, probably next year that this would be interesting to look at that baseline between, you know, with our federal workforce issues going on. So, okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, seeing no other questions, thank you, Crystal. We'll move on
Thank
to
you.
item number 8. Planning work program updates from Cindy Birch will update the members on a new local safety messaging campaign.
Cindy here.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Mentioned a couple of times, and it was in your last UPWP, that we try to do what we're calling a hyper-local safety campaign. We have a lot of the national and state level buys go out to your bigger outlets and your bigger publications, and we were using some of the money you guys approved to put into more local transit and neighborhood options. So this is just the quick purpose from the UPWP. We did use an on-call consultant for some of our imaging, but basically we wanted to do this local outreach to complement the state and the federal buys. So here are just some of the images we started with. We went back and we looked at everybody's local safety plans and the emphasis areas in those. We also looked at the crash data to try to map this out by month, by jurisdiction, so there can be different messages. You know, there could be a different issue in Carroll County versus Baltimore City in the month of May or something like that. So we wanted to try to customize it as much as possible. These were either the photos were images from a NHTSA image library, and the messaging came from our in-house communications staff. The more graphic one here was designed in-house as well. So a lot of the overall themes were speeding and non-motorist safety, and that was region-wide. So that was our first batch of images to come out. These were some of the images we got from our on-call consultant. These actually went on lots vehicles in some of the jurisdictions. So you can see with Howard, Annapolis, and Harford County, there were different ones. Again, it was either about sharing the road or slowing down, because we figured these are on the vehicles, so they're seeing people get on and off of the local transit vehicles, and also the people that are getting on and getting off would be able to see those messages. Similar to a lot of what we do with MTA buses for our Look Alive campaign and a few other things, where those are some of our most visible placements, and we get a lot of feedback from those buses. So this is just a quick table to show what we've done so far. We are doing print and digital. So far, we've got some of the different groups that do things like the WhatsApp media is one, and that covers, you can see the Eastern Shore, Annapolis, and Central Maryland. So we have the county and the city. We have Chesapeake Publishing, where they're doing some geo-targeting within those jurisdictions. We have it on, or we have it in production to get put on those vehicles. Please don't call me out if they're not actually on a vehicle quite yet, but we did this a month or two ago, so I'm hoping it's on the vehicles already. Lots of vehicles in Annapolis, Harford, and Howard, and we're trying to reach out to the other jurisdictions to be able to get on their vehicles. There's a publication in Harford County called Harford's Heart. It's a print publication. We have stuff in there. Working with WBFF, they have a segment called Be More Lifestyle, and they have digital resources as well as a TV spot. We're taping that Friday, and it'll be out in a week or so, I think, because it's going to be a mix. We're bringing together Bike to Work Week and the safety side of things. So it'll actually be our active transportation planner, Charlie Mingus, will be our on-air personality, along with Louisa from our communications team. We are in the process of getting a proposal together with Mid-Atlantic Media, and they're focused in these areas with the Baltimore Jewish Times, Baltimore Style, Baltimore Child, and Chesapeake Family Life. And we're also in discussions with WBAL TV or the Hearst companies to push out digital through their avenues, which actually cover quite a bit being WBAL, so we're gonna do some geo-targeting in there over the next few months. It is UPWP money, the money does end on June 30th, but we're able to pre-plan some, so we should have these safety messages going out into the fall in some of these outlets as well as the rest of the calendar year. That's all I have for you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, sir, I have a general comment, sorry.
Sorry, I should have asked for questions, sorry.
Now, in terms of the outreach processes, one thing we do in Annapolis when we have like special events coming out, because for city of Annapolis, for the water bill, it's under the city government. So when we send out the water bill, then we put in some of these messages in. So extending it further can be explored the possibility of working with utility companies, whether it's electronic bill or paper bill, kind of a small snippet in just to bring the awareness so that everybody in, even if you are not still riding a bike or if you are not a typical walker, once you open the bill, there is something telling you to be aware and so slow down, people are walking, things like that.
That's a great idea.
That we
And
can
I will
explore that
actually
and see the possibility.
find out who to speak to get some of those contacts, because yeah, at some point, we're all a pedestrian of some sort, even if it's just walking to and from our cars, so great idea, thank you. Any other questions?
Are there any of the campaign, I guess, images and stuff, either focused on like having a bus in them, and then I know there's a lot of movement as well around like not passing school buses as well. Is there any of those two topics like covered in the
We
round of
didn't,
safety messages?
we didn't get into those, but we are not done yet, so I will go back and talk to them about getting that in there, because we do still have a couple months left in this school year, and then also if we pre-plan, we can push some of it into the fall if it's, so. Great, that's another good idea, yeah, we were focusing with getting it on lots vehicles and then bunch of school age looking children, but not necessarily school buses, so that's a good one.
Yeah, yielding to the bus is a big problem for us at MTA, so
Yes.
getting that message out is.
Yes, those automated citation numbers are a bit mind-boggling.
Oh, yeah, I guess yielding, I was speaking more yielding to the transit bus, like when they're coming in and out of stops, but then.
Oh, the
I guess
driver's
there's, like,
yielding to them.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then there's the yielding to, like a stopping to the actual school bus when they have the, yeah, those.
You should
yielding
put the
to those
cameras on the
vehicles,
MTA
too.
buses too, because I'm sure they're
Do
scary
you
when
have
people get on and off
$10
of
million?
them. Okay, great, thank you.
I'll just comment real quick, Jamie. We can use images of buses. I think the messaging is tied to the local strategic highway safety plans. Like, what are the priorities? So I'm not sure if yielding to buses is in that, but I guess we could look
Yeah.
at if we can do that.
Yeah.
So we were really trying to target, so whatever the top one or two types of crashes were in Hartford, that's the kind of message we wanted to hit. So that's why when Cindy called it hyper local, we're really trying to get that message there. However, there may be an opportunity to do something like this as well. Okay,
Absolutely.
And we update our safety messaging every year, don't we? You do it every year?
Pardon me? Depends on the campaign.
Oh.
Some of them roll a couple of years and some of them, and we use a lot of the NHTSA campaign materials and the MDOT ones.
Do you have a committee for that, or is it working directly with this?
For the campaigns themselves.
Yeah.
I don't think I would say we would have a committee for that. It's a discussion in all of our other ones, if it's move over, outreach in the timber committee or safety in the safety committee, but.
So this is our chance to, yeah, kind of chime in,
Absolutely,
yeah, give recommendations. Cool.
absolutely, thank you. And you can always send more after if you have brilliant ideas on what.
Yeah, I mean, campaigns are excellent for decades now. I remember doing them in Washington. Thank you. All right, so we'll move on. We're ready? Got Zach Kaufman here. He's gonna give an update on progress of scenario planning tasks. Zach, you're up. As well as a needs assessment task, so 2 tasks.
Morning.
Morning.
So as Dan said, I'm here to give an update on 2 ongoing UPWP tests, the scenario planning project and transportation needs assessment. So for scenario planning, you've seen some of this before, but the project is ongoing. We're attempting to build the BRTB's capacity for exploring and selecting different policy actions to address transportation issues that are both pressing but are extremely uncertain. And so we're using a variety of tools to do this and explore alternative future scenarios. The primary tool is an exploratory modeling tool, which the consultant presented a couple meetings ago. It's known as Vision Eval. It's an FHWA pooled fund tool that allows us to be a little bit more nimble in the types of policy actions than the amount of policy actions and the combination that we look at. It works a little more simply and quickly than a traditional travel demand model, so you can analyze a lot of different options very quickly. We're pairing that with some insight travel demand modeling, as well as off-model GIS spatial analyses for things that can't be incorporated into the modeling tools, such as resilience and impacts of extreme weather. So we're kind of bringing a suite of analyses together, ultimately trying to discern implications, risks, and opportunities associated with transportation investments and various policy priorities that are intended to identify refinements for the LRTP, potential investment policies, and impacts to maybe project prioritization, scoring criteria. But we also hope to continue to use these tools to inform our modeling efforts as we move forward, since we've put a lot of time and effort into setting up the Vision Eval tool in particular. So this is supposed to have some boxes on it, but they went away. Anyway, we have done a fair amount of prep work in the fall, doing a survey of scenario categories and priorities. Got about 600 or so responses to that. That informed the scenario categories and the types of scenarios that we pursued. Right now, we're in task 4. It took a little bit longer than expected to get the model calibrated and running in a way that we thought was reasonable. But we are preparing to run the initial scenarios really within a matter of days. And we'll move on to analysis of potential risks and opportunities immediately after that. Oh, there it is. Anyway, so you've seen this before. There's a lot of information here, but this is a general layout of our modeling framework with Vision Eval. You have a series of 6 columns which have broad categories: transportation investments, housing and demographics, fees and incentives, and then external. Those are things that the BRTB and its members, either at the local or regional level, have some control over. And then there are external forces like the economy, technology, and resilience of the environment. We have a number of levels within each of these. So within transportation investments, we can look at expanding transit and bike walk trips, or we can look at expanding TSMO and TDM, or we can look at roadway and TSMO expansions. For housing and demographics, we're looking at expanding housing beyond. So I should clarify that level 1 for all of these is what is reflected in our long-range transportation plan. And then there are levels beyond this that we're looking at. So for housing, we're looking at expanding housing, speaking of housing supply shortages, by 90K units and looking at various distributions of where that housing could be located, near transit, near jobs, near transit and jobs, and then a more even distribution. Looking at a variety of fees and incentives, and then looking at different economic drivers and how that might impact travel. Technology, EV market penetration, car sharing services, and what level of cost and penetration those have. Telework, what that looks like, and shared AV usage, so autonomous vehicle penetration. All of this is modeled for a base year and then through the year 2050. Oh, and there's also a resilience category, but we are capturing that off model because the tools aren't really built for that, but you can look at different overlays where look at various inundation levels, roads impacted, jobs impacted, people impacted, those kinds of things. So what does that look like? If we choose one level from each category, that yields one scenario bundle, and Vision Eval is going to be used to model every possible combination. So you have 5 levels within transportation investments, 5 within housing and demographics, and so on. That yields a total of 1,500 different combinations, creates a broad suite of results, a big distribution for a variety of familiar outcome measures, BMT, transit trips, bike walk trips, those kinds of things. And you can see which scenarios make the most difference, which might make very little difference, what combinations make sense together, what combinations don't make sense together, and those kinds of things that we can explore with Vision Eval that we just couldn't do with the travel plan model. So immediately after modeling, we're moving into analysis and exploring trade-offs with a series of scenario planning workshops. We have 3 scheduled for May 15th and 16th, one with VRTV members, one with local and state housing and planning agency staff, and one with nonprofit business and community leaders. Once we have gone through those workshops, we'll run some refined scenarios based on what we've learned, do additional analysis, and then report out on recommended refinements to LRTP policies, as well as next steps for the Vision Eval tool. Okay, so that's all for scenario planning. I can, I guess, take all questions at the end, or if anyone has anything for that, I can take that now, or I can move into transportation needs assessment. Great. Oh, go ahead.
Do you know, in the LRTP, does it assume any change in the gas tax or? Like I'm wondering if there's a, if
No,
like that's the no change kind of scenario.
Yeah, so I mean, some of those things are, I mean, the level 1 is intended to reflect the LRTP insofar that it incorporates those columns. So of course, it incorporates housing and demographic changes and transportation investments. But those fee structures aren't really assumed in the LRTP. Beyond, I mean, the financial forecast incorporates the revenues that we anticipate having, and so I guess it incorporates the gas tax in that way, but it doesn't assume an increase beyond what PennDOT is providing to us in those state and federal forecasts.
Thanks. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure there was like a, what if none of these other scenarios, the other scenarios are, yeah, they could happen, but it would change a lot.
Yeah, so one is kind of like a baseline, like.
Yeah, and then that feeds into the other, they all are
right
modeled together.
Yeah. So yeah, like a no change beyond 2050 LRTP is one of those many combinations.
Can you tell if there's anybody in the chat, anybody hand up members that are online?
I don't see any hands. Okay. So for the needs assessment, this project is also to inform the LRTP and is intended to gather information as a baseline on transportation needs from a transportation user's perspective. We have a lot of data, we have a lot of technical reports, but we haven't done like a comprehensive assessment of how we're doing from a transportation user's perspective in the context of our LRTP goals. And ultimately helping the VRTP to plan for a more inclusive and responsive system. As I said, assessing needs in relation to LRTP goals and will inform the 2027 LRTP development of goals and strategies. So we've done a review of existing surveys and research that was presented to you in January. We're currently analyzing existing conditions. We also have a survey that's open, and we'll have 4 focus groups following that associated with that survey. Then an analysis of results, identification of metrics to track needs and policy recommendations, and then a presentation of findings in July. So what is going on right now? We're working on an existing condition story map. This is intended as a public facing tool. that will be a baseline for communicating who lives here, how they travel, and how our network is performing in relation to LRTP goals. There are a lot of data points that you can incorporate, but since it's a public facing tool, we made an effort to kind of distill that down into a few impactful data points and maps, made it as visual as possible. I think we just got what is hopefully the final draft today, so hopefully that will be on our website soon. We're looking at goal areas such as accessibility and mobility, safety, economic prosperity, infrastructure condition, and resilience to extreme weather. And this is a tool that I hope lives on, that can be updated, that can be improved, and that can continue to reflect future conditions as we move forward with future LRTP updates. Survey is ongoing. It's open through April 4th, although I think we are considering and likely will extend that deadline through April 11th. So that would be 2 Fridays from now. We would welcome your help in sharing that survey. I think you've received a couple of emails that Monica has targeted to tech and VRTB members. The website is publicinput.com/gettingthere. It's a survey that focuses on, again, the needs, challenges, and investment priorities of transportation system users, kind of loosely organized around the LRTP goals. We have 550-ish responses right now, where I think we're hoping for more like 1,000 by the end. It is like some of our other products, not super representative right now. We're doing a little better with this one than we have with other products, but it still has tended to be a little more city-centric. We could definitely use more responses in the outlying counties, in the more suburban and rural counties. And also we're getting good representation, as we always do, from transportation and transit and bike and ped advocates and higher educated folks. We could use some more input from drivers and other folks, so we ensure that we're representing all voices. We've done a lot of advertisement. That said, we've advertised through direct outreach, social media, targeted emails, and the consultant sent out 2 sets of 8,000 mailers that were over sampled in the more rural counties, or really outside of Baltimore City and Baltimore County, and also prioritizing lower opportunity areas, which are areas that are comprised from the Baltimore Regional Housing Partnership Opportunity Index. So we oversampled in both of those areas. We also have a series of focus groups that are coming. There will be 4 focus groups. They'll be held in May, and the survey is being used as a screening tool for those focus groups, so we can have a fairly representative sample of folks from around the region. Those will be virtual. And I think we're going to have a series of follow-up interviews as well with folks to create a high-quality video product. So next steps, analyzing results, identifying primary needs, causes for those needs, and priorities. We hope to identify performance metrics that we can track to gauge progress in addressing the identified needs. And this might fill in some of the gaps that the federally required performance measures don't currently capture very well from a user's perspective. And then apply that to the LRTP, to how we can improve our planning process, our strategies, policy recommendations, et cetera. Ultimately wrapping up the project in July. Yeah, so that's all I have for you this morning. Happy to take any questions.
I was curious in the outreach for the transportation needs assessment, if you targeted specifically high schools and colleges. I think this is a demographic that might be forced to rely on transit in some ways.
Yeah.
Because they don't have access to a car.
Monica may be able to answer that. We haven't directly had events at colleges and high schools, but we got some contacts, I think, from MTA, and Brittany Rolfe and Albert sent us a lot of the contacts associated with the Be More Bus project, which included school context. So we did a lot of outreach to various community-based organizations and worked with a consultant to improve our list of organizations that we're reaching out to. And we've done several rounds of outreach materials to those organizations, including people embedded within the school system, which included our social media posts, outreach toolkit, and those kinds of things. So we could also improve direct outreach as well.
This is Monica. Yeah, we definitely have been reaching out to community organizations. We did do some outreach to youth. Last Thursday, I was out at Mandamin Mall. There's a transit hub there, and we were there during the day at a community health fair to reach folks in the community. But in the afternoon, I was there after school talking with youth that are at Frederick Douglass High School that take the bus and stuff over there. So we did connect with some youth in the area. We've been trying to make inroads with the school system, but we are finding a really difficult time to be able to get in and get approval, to be able to get the word out. And I've gone through inside connections and trying to, go through the, formal route. We've just never been able to formally been able to get, announcements made through the school system. So if there's any guidance or advice or someone who knows someone, we would really appreciate that, because it's definitely been a challenge for us to be able to get announcements made through the school systems.
So through the survey process, I'm sorry, were you?
No, I'm done. Yeah, thank you.
Through the survey process, and as this goes on, like the information we're going to gather will help us kind of balance how we set our goals for transit versus highway capacity versus multimodal moving forward. We always get those comments. We should be more transit oriented, or we should be more highway capacity oriented. This will give us a lot of insight and information on how we should set those goals, and from people we may not have heard from.
Yeah, that's the hope. I mean, we have a lot of questions around active transportation and transit, but we also have questions on the concerns of drivers. And yeah, so we're trying to gather information, from all users across all modes to help to inform. Particularly, I mean, the goals are based on federal planning factors and don't change it a whole lot from LRTP to LRTP, but could inform various strategies to better achieve those goals and make the goals more representative of what people's challenges and barriers are. I also think some of the metrics could be one of the more valuable things that comes out of this. I think we have a lot of data around accessibility, for example, but we don't have specific metrics that we've identified that we should track to measure our progress in improving access, for example. We report on that with every LRTP, but if we have a more structured approach, then we can start to develop longitudinal data and really try to track how we're doing.
Kind of a general, are you done? Okay, thank you. General comment here, more towards the BRTB members. I believe the county city website, most of us have transportation department, or office of transportation. Annapolis, we do have that one, but the regional transportation is kind of vary. So the idea is that if we can talk to our webmasters how at the very main page, regional transportation, and then all the BRTB activities, we can have the link. So for instance, the survey, you click on regional transportation, hey, it's your region. You want to find what's going on, boom, we have the survey. It's a way for those who do not really come to this meeting, but do visit the county website very often for various activities to see what the BRTB is doing, not only for data collection, but overall, the various work that you do. And again, I would like to congratulate BMC for their technical capacity for their travel demand modeling. I think if you look back, you guys have come a very long way in terms of technical capabilities. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. I don't know if I directly deserve those congratulations, but I will be sure.
And
to pass
from
it on.
Charles Bieber and all those who have been involved over the years. I've been here long enough to see the progress we have made. So just to express my sincere gratitude for you all.
Hey, Zach, real quick question on the timeline here. So it says April 4th, you want to close the survey, but you're thinking of extending it. I'm thinking of a couple outlets from my end that maybe we could get more out, or hopefully send some information out to get more of that suburban context.
Okay, that would be great.
Usually that takes, I don't know, like 3-4 weeks to kind of get going. So I'm just saying, it's, I mean, thinking our local transportation board meeting and our other kind of focused, outreach efforts that already kind of newsletter stuff that goes out. So I mean, are you guys like 90% sure you're gonna extend it, or because we could have this conversation offline?
Yeah, I think we are going to be extending it through, but likely only a week based on project schedule through the 11th. But if you have opportunities that would fit within that timeframe, we'd be happy to talk about it. Monica, email Monica and I, and we can provide anyone with additional materials or anything that would be helpful, or if there's an event that it would be helpful for us to be at, we can identify a staff person to go.
Okay, gotcha. Let me get clear on those two timelines, and I can follow up if it's within that window or not. Okay.
We do have surveys and flyers and some small that have the QR code. You could take one with you, and to entice people to participate, there are 10 $100 gift cards, $100 gift cards that will be awarded. So this isn't the survey for the scenario planning was a little bit more geeky. It was difficult perhaps for the general public. But this survey, anybody could do. It's like, how do you get around? You do this, this, or this. Well, to make it better, what do you need? I mean, it really is a user perspective that we don't usually get. And I think anybody could do it in just a few minutes.
Thanks, Zach.
All right, thank you.
So let's move on to item 9. Next technical committee meeting will be virtual on May 6th, Tuesday, May 6th. Anybody have any other business?
Chair, I would like to remind everyone that the next meeting of the VRTB is an elected officials meeting, and that's Friday, April 25th. So we're going to be setting out confirmation and then also briefing papers, just make sure your members, elected officials are ready for these action items that have been passed on by the tech committee. Also, I kind of buried the lead on the UPWP, or the transportation planning budget, because it does include educational funds for the AMPO conference. So that is the week of September 15th through the 19th in Providence, Rhode Island.
Dan, do you want to mention your goodies?
Well, you can bring some giveaways for our Commuter Choice Maryland program. Just remind everybody out there, we have a Commuter Choice benefits program. So feel free to take what you want.
And this group has been doing a lot of work in this region due to the collapse of the Key Bridge. So a lot of these commuter resources are helping people that lost the ability to commute the way they did prior to that. So if you need some materials to go to your rideshare coordinators, we'll probably use some at some of our outreach events.
We'll probably announce it soon if it hasn't been announced already. So, there's going to be some shuttle services announced using CMAQ funding to provide transportation services for people affected by the collapse of Key Bridge. So I think we'll be announcing that soon. Maybe at the board meeting, there might be an announcement, or at least the next time. should start in May. All right, hearing no other business, ask for a motion in a second to close the meeting.
Make a motion.
Okay, city motions. Queen Anne's County second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Meeting's adjourned.